water. It's very dangerous, it's very deceiving, and if you don't know what you're doing, it could take your life.
Good advice. High surf, massive swells, and heavy rain sweeping across the Pacific coast tonight, bringing dangerous conditions. Good evening. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Christian Cafton. From Oregon to Southern California, a powerful storm system is threatening coastal communities as we head into the New Year holiday weekend. Wild weather slamming the San Francisco Bay Area as you can see large waves and swells storming Mavericks Beach and drawing plenty of spectators. This is just north of Half Moon Bay in the city of El Granada. In Southern California, preparations underway there to protect neighborhoods along the coast from fast-moving waves and potential flooding. Meteorologist Roberta Gonzalez joining us now. Roberta, a lot of rain, a lot of wind, and a lot to unpack here.
You just nailed it there, Christian, because the first storm we experienced earlier this week was more wind than rain. Now we have rain and wind, but less wind. So let's get right to it, because this storm is definitely impacting anywhere from the Pacific Northwest all the way into California. As you can see, the northwestern quadrant of the state of California getting hammered at this hour. And when you see the areas of yellow and orange, that's a moderate to heavy downpour. And we've been seeing that, good 2/10 in less than 20 minutes. This is the secondary system now, or rather, if you want to call it the third storm, but that'll affect us by Wednesday. So let's concentrate on this one right here. It's affecting Eureka all the way into Redding, and the highest elevations we're seeing some light snow now. And then you see it slicing through the Bay Area between 7 and 8 o'clock tonight. We had the heaviest rain in the northern portion of California. Now it's all slicing into Red Bluff and also into Yuba City. And all of this activity is missing Southern California as it pounds the Santa Clara Valley, but it is making tracks all the way into Monterey Bay and Carmel. In the Los Angeles basin and all the way to San Diego, it's mostly cloudy skies. Las Vegas, you're void of any of the activity, as is Salt Lake City and in Denver. But meanwhile, it is snowing in the High Sierra. Okay, not so much right now, but it will be tomorrow morning. We will have those snow showers. First things first, it's starting off as rain because it's just too warm right now in the 40s. But by tomorrow morning, the temperature drops. Look at those overnight lows. So they're making the snow on top of the snow that's falling. Winter weather advisory in the High Sierra, about 2 to 6 inches at 6,200 feet, about a dusting to 2 inches at 6,000 feet. But when you go up to 7,500 feet, that's when you see a foot of snow, but it's blowing snow, and that's why that advisory is in place. Now we will continue to see the rainfall throughout Friday night into Saturday in throughout the Pacific Northwest, also in throughout Northern California. We will see a break in the activity in Northern California by Saturday night. Same story around Orange County, all the way into the Los Angeles basin, all the way into the high desert in the Mojave Desert, from Apple Valley through Victorville into Barstow. You will be void of any of this activity. So let's lay it on out for you. Seattle, you will finally get a break in the activity by Saturday late afternoon. In the Bay Area, by the evening hours on Saturday, a random shower is possible on Sunday coming up from the south, but then your New Year's Day will be sunny and bright and seasonal. We have some sunshine in Denver. We do have the sun returning in Los Angeles, and Happy New Year to all of you in Phoenix. Christian?
Roberta, thank you so much. All eyes on that New Year's Eve forecast. Meanwhile, parts of Santa Cruz County are under an evacuation warning tonight. This comes after many areas have seen damage from waves and wet weather in recent days. KTVU's Ann Rubin spoke to people from Santa Cruz coastline up into the mountains.
In the hours after one storm ended and before the next began, crews assessed the damage to the Santa Cruz Wharf.
There's some structural damage to the underneath of the Dolphin restaurant. Some pilings got knocked out and it's sagging a little bit, as you can tell.
The Dolphin is now closed, but when the waves struck and the pilings cracked, there were people inside.
When you hear the crack of that piling, it's really loud. It's like thunder a little bit. And then the floor just kind of dropped.
The end of the wharf is blocked off and will likely take months to repair. For locals like Mark Woodward, who goes by Native Santa Cruz on social media, this is heartbreaking news.
Back to rebuilding. Add another wharf to our list of the 3 wharfs in Santa Cruz now that have been damaged or destroyed.
For some, weather was not a deterrent.
I'm an optimist, and I'm going to show up to play volleyball whenever.
From the courts to the waves, the athletes were still out, but surfers did issue a warning.
Don't come out if you don't know what you're doing.
In the Santa Cruz Mountains, slick roads are already taking their toll. Crash after crash backed up traffic along Highway 17. And throughout the Bay Area, PG&E is staging crews. They say with high winds expected, they brought in extra equipment.
We're ready for anything. If the weather does get worse and we see storm-related damage, we have all the resources we need in place to respond.
In addition to rain and wind, this storm's expected to bring big waves. There are now evacuation warnings back in place for coastal areas, including Capitola and Seacliff. In the Santa Cruz Mountains, Ann Rubin, KTVU Fox 2 News.
Beaches across Ventura County in Southern California are closed tonight following a series of rogue waves, with more high surf expected this weekend. Officials are working to protect the community. You can see those bulldozers there. The Ventura County Fire Department preparing for tomorrow's storm. Today, crews were building a sand berm, clearing driveways and roads. All of this coming after powerful waves pounded the coastline there just yesterday. And take a look at this new video out of Ventura tonight. You can see the moments that people had to scramble for safety as heavy surf washed up on roads and sidewalks. The waves causing severe flooding and damage across the region. The beach closure in Ventura County are in effect through at least tomorrow. Officials in Los Angeles County are also bracing for dangerous conditions along the coast starting tonight. The Manhattan Beach Pier will be closed through Sunday. Manhattan Beach City officials are urging people to stay off those beaches, coastal walkways, and remain out of the water. And a warning about strong waves stretching up into Oregon and Washington state. Fire rescue officials at Cannon Beach on the Oregon coast say the unusually high surf is likely to churn up sneaker waves. Those waves can appear without warning, knocking people down and dragging them out to sea. Officials say the stormy weather is also bringing up a lot of debris that can injure people who go into the water.
Log was brought here yesterday by a storm surge at high tide. We get a lot of people that logs will roll onto them and injure their arms or their legs.
They say big waves also make it harder for fire rescue crews to reach people if they are in need of that rescue. An Arizona man charged in connection with a terrorist attack in Australia is asking for the case to be thrown out. Donald Day was arrested earlier this month in rural Arizona. Queensland police in Australia say Day repeatedly sent online messages containing Christian end-of-days ideology to the people who carried out that attack. It was a deadly shooting that killed 6 people, including 2 police officers, last December. Day's attorneys argue the indictment doesn't specify intent to harm any specific person and that his comments were protected by free speech under the First Amendment. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Phoenix, which is prosecuting Day, declined to comment on the dismissal request. In Oakland, California, police are searching for the people involved in killing an undercover officer while he was on duty. KTVU reporter Henry K. Lee has the very latest on the fallen officer and the search for his killer.
Sadly, today, one of our officers paid the ultimate sacrifice.
Many of our officers are hurting right now, and they're going to need our support.
Undercover Oakland police officer Tuan Lee was shot and killed in the line of duty before dawn. Interim Police Chief Darren Allison says the officer was part of a burglary suppression team that responded to a break-in and progress at a cannabis dispensary.
During the response, at least one individual discharged their firearm multiple times, striking a plainclothes officer who was driving an unmarked vehicle.
Officers put Lee in a police car and drove him directly to Highland Hospital in Oakland. Officers converged at the hospital, but Lee, a 4-year department veteran, died 4 hours later with his wife and mother at his side. The shooting happened at about 4:30 in the morning near 9th Avenue in Embarcadero off 880, just down the street from the cannabis dispensary. The business had already been broken into at 1 in the morning, and officers responded,
secured the business, and left. And then it was re-burglarized again.
The second police response led to the shooting. This crashed Nissan Frontier pickup truck was riddled with gunfire. Police, Alameda County Sheriff's deputies, and CHP officers blocked a large stretch of Embarcadero looking for evidence and suspects.
This senseless murder of a police officer, one of the guardians of our beautiful city, It will not stand.
Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao vowed to seek justice for the officer's family and the department.
Oakland will work tirelessly with all of our law enforcement partners to find those responsible for this assault on our city and the killing of our officer.
As investigators search for suspects, first responders mourn the loss of one of their own. A procession of police cars and motorcycles escorted the officer's body from the hospital. Fire trucks lined overpasses along 580 to honor the fallen officer. The procession ended at the coroner's office, where loved ones embraced each other and were comforted by law enforcement. Officers stood at attention, a gesture of respect for a man who gave his life serving the citizens of Oakland. Officer Lee's death is especially tragic in light of this holiday season. Funeral arrangements are pending. Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
In Oregon, a man is facing several charges tonight after shooting at Portland police officers. The suspect was wanted in connection to a recent murder investigation. Late last night, he was spotted in East Portland. Police say the suspect fled the scene and started firing shots at officers as he ran into an apartment where they say he continued to fire at officers. A shelter in place was issued for residents in that area.
My son could have been in harm, danger. I thought it was an active shooter in Fred Myers. My son rides his scooter right here. You know what I mean? Like, what if I pulled up and my son was in there? How am I supposed to act about that? How would you act?
No one was injured in that incident. Police say the suspect was taken into custody after an hours-long standoff. In Washington state, we're learning about another large fentanyl bust. Police in Vancouver say it came as part of an ongoing investigation involving stolen vehicles. They say a 35-year-old suspect was found to be in possession of 1,500 fentanyl pills along with heroin, meth, and 2 firearms. 2 children dead, and now police are looking for the kid's mother. We'll have the very latest on the search in Colorado. Plus, 4 months after the devastating fire in Maui, Hawaii leaders are saying the island is ready for visitors. In Colorado tonight, police are searching for a 35-year-old woman accused of killing her 2 children just days before Christmas. Fox's Rachel Saar reports from Colorado Springs after speaking with neighbors about what they know about the family.
This has always been a very quiet neighborhood. You know, nothing really happens here.
On Tuesday, December 19th, just after midnight, Colorado Springs police received a call for a burglary in a home on Palomino Ranch Point.
When the news broke that it was a suspected burglary, I was very scared. I thought I lived in a safe area, and now I don't feel so safe anymore.
Officers arrived and found an 11-year-old girl and a woman, later identified as 35-year-old Kimberly Singler, who were both injured, and 2 other children, a 9-year-old girl and a 7-year-old boy, who were both dead. Singler and the 11-year-old were taken to the hospital for treatment. It's unclear if Singler was ever in custody, but she is now wanted by police.
They took her to the hospital and then they released her, and now they're looking for her. What happened there?
Police later learned the burglary was unfounded, and then this past Tuesday got a warrant for Singler's arrest.
When I found out that it was the mom and it was more domestic, a very bad situation and something that I'm definitely deeply saddened about. Who can do something that horrific and just be able to leave and not face what you've done?
She's the daughter that lives in the house, or lived in the house. Her van was over there. It's gone. She came and disappeared. And I have heard nothing about also the grandmother who actually owns the condo and lived there as well. She's nowhere to be seen.
Neighbors say Singler moved in with a relative more than 6 months ago.
The kids played right here all the time. There was literally a snowman right there that they built, I don't know, a week ago. It finally just melted. But yeah, they built it just probably the weekend before it happened.
Now the neighbors say they're just hoping Singler is caught.
You've done something so horrible and just so malicious. How could you even stand to bear yourself and to just live a normal life without admitting to something, wanting to, have some kind of remorse for your actions? It's horrible.
That was Rachel Saar reporting. Singler was last seen December 23rd. A $10 million bond has been set by the court. The details of her arrest warrant are currently sealed under court order. In Northern California, a man charged in a deadly stabbing spree has been deemed to be mentally competent to stand trial. Carlos Dominguez, a former UC Davis student, is accused of stabbing 3 people, killing 2 of the victims and injuring the 3rd. A 21-year-old was sent to a state hospital in July after a court could not reach a decision on his mental capacity. His lawyers argued that he is likely schizophrenic. But now, according to the Yolo County District Attorney, the state hospital says he has been restored to competency. He's set to be back in court next Friday. And staying in California, the state's capital is changing how it responds to some 911 calls. The Sacramento Fire Department says it responds to 110,000 calls annually. Some of those calls are non-emergency, which is why the department is launching a new program. It will use squads or smaller wildland fire engines to respond to non-urgent medical aid calls. The squads will carry all of the same medical gear, but are staffed with fewer firefighters.
Putting 2 firefighters in that, one of them being a paramedic, so they have advanced life support capabilities, and they are responding to lower acuity calls. Using these squads to go to these calls, they can do a quick assessment on the patient, figure out what they need, and get them to success.
According to Sacramento County, the average wait time to get from an ambulance to an ER bed was 69 minutes for the past 12 months, but fire officials say response changes could help lower that response time. It's been 4 months since a deadly wildfire ripped through Maui. Efforts to resume the island's tourism economy are proving to be challenging. Hawaii's governor is asking tourists to return to the island after the August 8th wildfires. Those fires killed at least 100 people and destroyed more than 2,000 structures. The historic town of Lahaina is still recovering. Certain areas are off limit to visitors. The island's economy relies heavily on tourism, although some say a return of visitors could be a difficult sight to those still living on the island who have not yet had their basic needs met.
I think now that we're hitting that 4-month mark when these hotels are taking this stance, wanting more tourists back for our Christmas break, I don't think it's going to be very, very good. It's not good for our mental health when we see families frolicking around, having a wonderful time, and the whole community is suffering.
Travel to Maui is down 20 to 30% from last December. Some residents are hoping visitors will still travel to the island, but hope they remain respectful and support local businesses there. Colorado is joining a list of West Coast states to ban single-use plastic bags. Starting in the new year, plastic bags will be banned altogether, which means customers will need to buy a paper bag for 10 cents instead.
The whole purpose in Colorado is, plastic bags end up, they fly in the air and then they can end up in streams, and then the plastic releases chemicals, which is bad for the rivers, estuaries, whatever.
Another part of the law restricts restaurants from giving out styrofoam containers for ready-to-eat food. Other West Coast states that have a ban on plastic bags include California, Oregon, and Hawaii. Christmas is over, and as the days go on, those holiday trees become more dry and more dangerous. Firefighters in Phoenix, Arizona recently held a demonstration to show just how quickly a dried-out Christmas tree can go up in flames, especially if they're near a heat source.
As you saw, less than 5 seconds, that tree ignited, and within 30 seconds, that entire room was engulfed in flames. You got to remember that a fire doubles every 30 seconds, so within a couple minutes, you can have a fully involved house fire.
2, 1. According to the National Fire Protection Association, even a well-watered tree should be taken down within 4 weeks of bringing it into your home. To check the tree for dryness, choose a branch near the trunk and allow it to slide between your thumb and forefinger. If the needles shed easily, that tree should be discarded. The Rose Parade is always a big event. Coming up next, we'll introduce you to some very special participants who have a lot to celebrate this year. Also, we will let you know about a Raider fan who's selling her tickets to help out a worthy family that's struggling following a tragedy this holiday season. Stay with us. A cold water rescue caught on camera in Colorado. Westminster police say a beagle ran after a critter and got stuck in a drainage pipe. Animal management officers and the fire department were then called to help out. Firefighters stationed themselves on either end of that pipe, one on land and one in the creek, but they couldn't reach that pup no matter what they did. They ultimately had to use an air bottle to agitate the pipe and get that dog to scoot its way out. Harvey, the beagle, eventually did make it out and was reunited with his owner. In California, wild moments caught on camera in South Lake Tahoe. This video, you can see a man going into a crawl space with a paintball gun. The reason to scare off that bear that had found a comfy spot under his house. The man fired off a few rounds of the paintball gun to startle that bear away. And he warns, before you try this yourself, he says that he is a well-known nature enthusiast and bear expert in the Lake Tahoe area. The NHL Winter Classic will soon kick off in Washington, but the Seattle Kraken is facing a new lawsuit just days before the tournament. The team is getting sued over their jerseys for the event. According to the Seattle Times, the team is accused of violating the trademark of the Seattle Metropolitans. That's the original Seattle hockey team and the winners of the 1917 Stanley Cup. The trademark is held by a Bellevue entrepreneur. The lawsuit alleges that the Kraken sent him a lowball offer to use the likeness of the Metropolitans, and the team did so anyway after he rejected their offers. Due to the timing, the lawsuit will not jeopardize the use of the jerseys in the Winter Classic itself on Monday. The number 2 ranked Washington Huskies hard at work today, practicing for one of the biggest games in school history. On New Year's Day, the team will be facing Texas in the Sugar Bowl, which is a college football playoff semifinal. This is the first time since 1991 that the Huskies were ranked this high at this point in the season. And we are just 3 days away from the annual Rose Parade in Pasadena, California, and this year's celebration will have a very special touch. 2024 marks the 50th anniversary of City of Hope participating in the Rose Parade. The Cancer Treatment and Research Center has hospitals across the country. For the first time ever, their parade float will be featuring survivors from California, Atlanta, Chicago, and Phoenix, along with their physicians. The float entry for this year is titled A Lovely Day for Hope.
Oh, I can't even tell you how much this means to me. You know, I know this is in my heart and maybe nobody else feels it, but I feel that I am riding on the float as a representative of all the people like us who have survived cancer, especially those who have survived a difficult cancer.
The Rose Parade gets underway on the morning of New Year's Day. It's followed by the Rose Bowl between Michigan and Alabama. In Nevada, a GoFundMe is raising money for a father of 7 who died from injuries he suffered during a carjacking. 39-year-old Jerry Lopez of Las Vegas died Wednesday. He and his wife, Karen, adopted 6 of their children after fostering them. The GoFundMe account has raised more than $287,000. Another foster parent says she is selling her Raider season tickets to donate the proceeds to that account to help out that family. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You can stay on top and up to date on all the stories that we are covering online. Just go to westcoastwrap.com and you can stream all of our shows on your smart TV by downloading the Fox Local News app. Have a great evening.